Let me introduce you. Let me just check how it is going out. This is streaming. Let me see. Okay, we are live. We are live.
Wonderful.
Let me put this in mute. Okay. Now, good morning, good afternoon, all people. We are watching this video. My name is Antonio Elias Salum Salazar, and I'm president of Fundación Horacio Ducharne, working in the research and study about the cities, about how to improve life of citizens in cities. And today we are glad to meet and responsible for a very important company, technological company in the Netherlands, DEMCON. We have the representative of DEMCON, Mr. Benjamin Jung, who is very nice who was very nice to accept our invitation to share with us the health innovations that DEMCON is proposing to improve quality of life of citizens in the city. So let me then introduce Mr. Benjamin Jung, who want to show some of these health innovation that are quite useful to understand how to improve lives in the city. Please, Benjamin, when you want.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Antonio. Looking forward to give you some insights on what DEMCON is doing, and particularly focusing on how we want to make an impact in people's lives for the better. And I think DEMCON is very broad, but I think the area of home treatment and wearables is, to my understanding, the most impactful to people's personal situation inside, for example, a city. So we are founded in 1993, which is over 25 years ago, over 750 people in total. And basically, there are two things which excites us. One is the technology side. We like to have be involved in complex technology and make an impact on people's lives. And we are ISO 13485 certified both on the development and production, which is very important for us to make medical devices. And you see here on the map that we are starting to become more of a global company, where we have in the Netherlands the headquarters, but also a site in Germany, a site in Japan, Singapore, and now also working on a site in the USA as well. Due to Corona, that's a little bit delayed, but as you see, we are more and more becoming internationally founded by the two people you see here in the front. The tall guy is Peter Rutgers. He is the technical conscious of the company, and Dennis Schipper is the one who keeps us pushing for making a better and more impact in society.
You are site in Kazakhstan, Benjamin. I saw Kazakhstan.
No. Netherlands, Germany, Japan, Singapore, and USA.
Singapore. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No, not in Kazakhstan. We try to highlight a little bit the companies the countries that we are involved in, so it's not always exactly landing on the right geographical position. Yeah.
It looks quite great to be Singapore, but it's okay.
Yeah, some countries, actually, the Netherlands are not equally sized as Germany. Germany is, of course, much bigger than the Netherlands. So it's a little bit also based by the number of sites we have there.
Good point.
Yeah. So we have 8 focus areas that we are involved in. If you zoom in the area of life sciences and health, and these are the focus areas that we do. So in radiation oncology, those are typically large systems that we are doing, critical care systems. Now, for example, with COVID-19, we made a respiratory solution, a ventilator for people in IC who are not able to breathe themselves. We take over the breathing for them. Actually also delivered to Brazil a lot of these systems. In regenerative medicine, where you look for personalized medicine, can you tweak medication in such a way that you can really optimize the effectiveness to the patient? We have various interventional systems solutions, also a lot of own products in this field, by the way, to do more and more less invasive surgery, so that the impact is higher and the risks for side effects is lower. A lot
But
in
Benjamin, then this last year was a very active year for you. I suppose you made a lot of products in the respiratory area due to the pandemic, I suppose, huh?
Yeah, if you look at the pandemic, actually you see impact in different areas. First of all, it is in the field of preventing that people get the coronavirus, which is in the field of home treatment and wearable. So we made face masks, FFP level 1, 2, and 3, where we can produce. We made a machine producing over 1 million, 2 million pieces per month, FFP level 2. So those are medical grade face masks to prevent it, and then measuring if people actually have the virus or not with our in vitro diagnostic system. And then if they actually have the virus, we can support them with breathing, respiratory functions with the critical care systems. And then with regenerative medicine, we actually have solutions to search for vaccines and actually do the qualification of if these vaccines actually work. So actually 4 different focus areas were involved in the vaccine development.
Yeah.
Or the whole corona pandemic, better said. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. So we are luckily able to make a very positive impact on something which affects, unfortunately, everybody around the globe. So we are a partner for development and production, and we have the ability to take care of a product from the concept to production. Mind you, if I'm speaking about production, I mean high-grade assembly. So we don't have milling and drilling devices. For that, we have our partners. So we typically take all these parts together to integrate it into a total solution. And
So you work with several partners in different areas then when to develop a product. So I mean, you need to have a good partnership.
Yes, yeah. So we have a wide range of partners for the mechanical parts, the electronics, the etc. And then really focusing on what the customer needs, on which selection to make. So, for example, you have a customer which wants to be cheap and fast. That's possible. You will probably not get it with the best quality. If that's okay, then it's fine. You have also customers that want to have for the right quality and the right price. Yeah, then probably flexibility will be terrible. So you always optimize for one or the other aspects, and we have a wide range of companies that support us in that.
So you have a flexible creation product process, versatile. Huh? And what about the software? You have also partnership with software. Where is your software made up? Where?
Yeah, so we have our own software department able to do. Actually, I have a slide on that one as well. But yeah, we can do the whole software from embedded low-level software up until high-level software, application software. So the whole software development we can do, but we do often work together with partners on software. For example, if you think about specific platforms to integrate with, because a lot of devices generate a lot of data, and that data needs to end up in a platform in a way that you can actually make decisions out of that. Well, that typically those kinds of platforms we integrate, connect to that data, to those platforms with our data, and work with partners on that.
You see. Please go on.
Yeah. So we aim typically for partnerships, so the long run, not doing just one project. And the way we do that might sound a bit awkward, because we do that by not providing any strings attached to the contracts. So a lot of our competitors, they have contracts which forces them to work together throughout the process. We do not have that. Also on intellectual property, in general, that intellectual property ends up with the customer, so they are free to do with that as they want. So we basically try to seduce our customers to work with us further down the line, and that actually in 9 out of 10 cases really actually happens in that way.
So it sounds like a modular way of working. So you make this
Right.
part, you don't
Right.
you take this part and replace, and you don't need to know the context.
Well, we always aim for understanding the context, but the modularity is in the phases. So we have, for example, customers which are strong in the manufacturing, but lack on research capabilities. So we then help them with the concept development, do the first prototypes, introduce the first series, and then when the production is scaled up further, they take it up themselves. But we also have customers which are very strong in the research and typically want us to do the whole production part. And a lot of things in between.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is the kind of flexibility we offer. So if you take this picture here, so we basically you can step in or out any point in this process you like.
Yeah, I see.
So a few things about home treatment wearables that we see that is important. So one of the things that we realize is we work a lot on products which go from hospital tabletop to home treatment wearable used by the patient themselves. Well, then the user experience design becomes really important. So we really scaled up this expertise by DEMCON, focusing on the whole workflow, making sure that the care professional understands what's actually happening there, focusing a lot on avoiding false negatives, false positives in case of diagnosis, but also treatment, procedure adherence, that the patient really knows which steps to take along the way.
I suppose it's a very important thing, the simplicity of these devices, because most of these patients at home, I suppose they are the old people or people with some limited capacities or capable of doing little things. So the devices you produce for them must be very, very easy to use or very simple. Not many functions.
Yeah, it's not necessarily elder people. Of course, those are typically people who need additional care, but you can also think about people who have a long recovery time. For example, again with COVID-19, you have people who have breathing issues, and then you want to send them at home, but want to keep an eye on, is the respiratory function properly? Maybe they need some respiratory support. Well, then they need to be able to do that themselves. And then, of course, the key thing is, how do you set up the user experience design to make sure that they are doing the right things in the right way?
Exactly.
And of course, with the alarm functions, that you can trigger the caregiver that something might go wrong.
I see.
One of the things that we believe is the holy grail in this area is what we call the closed loop. And actually, you have three kind of closed loops. You have the micro level closed loop, where we particularly aim for. So go from monitoring directly to adjustment of the treatment, which I think the best example I can give is this one itself, which coincidentally is also a closed loop itself. This is a ring which is inserted in the vagina, developed by Ligali, where we also have shares in that company. And on one side of this ring, you do the monitoring of vital signs, and on the other side, you have a cartridge where you insert the medicine tuned to by what you're measuring.
I see.
So you can very carefully adjust the medication levels by what you're measuring on one side. And this actually also is connected to a app where you can actually see on how the monitoring is happening, and also how the treatment is tested.
These devices are very, very, I say, you must test them a lot, because, yeah, an error or mistake in these things may be very serious consequences. I mean,
Yes.
Your test and verification phases must be very, a lot of exigency, a lot of work around.
Yeah, true. If you take the site where the medication is located, if there would be, for example, a valve sticking or some leakage taking place, and the whole cartridge is emptied at one moment in the body, that depending on the medication inside that cartridge can be very harmful to the patient.
I mean, the failure rate of this must be very close to zero, or the trust rate on this must be almost 100%. I suppose.
True. Yeah, true. And of course, if it goes wrong, you aim for that if a failure happens, that it turns out, for example, in this case, that the medication will not be given, rather than by accident providing too much medication.
Okay.
Because too much medication, actually both could be lethal, but in general, providing too much medication at once can be more lethal than having a delayed moment of medication. So then you basically give the alarm function saying, hey, for some reason I'm not able to give the medication, please take measures now. No.
And I suppose there must be some European standard or European norm to make sure these devices, the failure rate is below some kind of threshold.
Yes.
You have to compare with some norm about that, Benjamin.
True. Yeah, so we are familiar with for example, the FDA and CE marking with medical classes up to level 3. And depending on the medication you put in here, it can be immediately fatal to the patient. Actually, we have a lot of devices where that is the case. And then you really have to adhere to strict standards to confirm that indeed the risks are below a certain value. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So, but I think the most important message here is our aim to go for closed loop, and we realize that in many cases goes step by step. So first start with monitoring, and then gradually build up understanding in order to take the step to do the control automatically. But that is the direction that we are aiming for at DEMCON, which is certainly in the medical field groundbreaking, I can say.
No, it's quite impacting, yeah.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
But must work very, very good. I mean, you must be safe with this device, or it must be very well designed, very well tested.
Yeah, so there are a lot of clinical trials where you have to go through in order to make sure that the device is meeting its standards. You also have to provide a lot of evidence. Sometimes you can already build up evidence by simulations. So we also have a lot of simulations. But in the end, of course, you have to provide it with a lot of tests done on the device, and then also including in hospitals or other areas where you do the clinical trials. Yeah.
Good.
Definitely. So, I was referring to 3 levels of closed loop. So one is the micro level, which is the one that we really are aiming for, but we understand that is sometimes a stretch too far. So the second closed loop is on the meta level, the macro level, where you provide data in a way that it is informative to the caregiver, so that that person can take the right adjustments to the treatment. And then you have the meta level, where you basically gather statistical data across a range of patients, where you can actually see patterns across that. And that's often then the last part is typically done with AI, so that you can actually tune the whole treatment process in large, for total groups, by what you are statistically building up an understanding on the patient groups.
But wait a minute. So the second level requires an action from the patient. I understood, and the first level is more using artificial intelligence to say.
Yeah. So the first level, the micro level, is by the device itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second level is with the caregiver or the patient in the loop.
Okay, I see.
And the third level is where you build up statistical data across patient groups. For example, you can now with COVID-19, for example, you see that people with obesitas across a certain age level are in a higher risk area.
I see.
So we know that now by examining larger group of people, understanding that apparently elder people above the 40 who have obesitas are in a higher risk category for COVID-19 to have respiratory issues.
Yeah.
So that is typically, if you think about closed loop, also that is a closed loop on the meta level.
Yeah, but when you say you collect data from a group of patients, so these patients are at home, at the hospital, anywhere. So this data collection is achieved in which way?
Yeah, of course, it's important to understand that you always have to comply to a lot of standards when you zoom in that, like GDPR, and your security system has to be very well divided. But to be honest, it depends on the system, how you set up that. But in the end, you have to have a central database where you collect the data. But how you do that really depends on case by case. There's not one answer there, to be honest. But of course, you have a lot of standards there, like the DICOM standard, the HL7 standard. A lot of communication protocols are there to support the process of gathering the data, in collecting the data, and putting it into a central database in order for you to change your decision making to it.
Understood.
But of course, you always have to be compliant, because, I don't know how it is in your country, but in the Netherlands, we have to be very strict with patient data and make sure.
Privacy, the privacy of the people is very important. So you cannot abuse with this data.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful that the data is anonymous, that the data cannot be directly linked to a person. There's a lot of
issues. There are so many, and in the Netherlands, it becomes something very important, I suppose, because people care about their data, so they don't want to share things that way.
And to be honest, if you ask me personally, I would say that the Netherlands are a bit too strict in it. But okay, we have to follow the rules, and we of course are the first to do that.
And talking a bit about the Netherlands, Benjamin, how is the pandemic over there? Is under control, or how do you see the situation is evolving? Is quite so? How do you see?
You touched it upon a very painful point there.
Painful. Okay. So for
yeah. So we were actually leading the pack at the beginning, because in the Netherlands we have some very, very powerful research institutes focusing on developing the vaccine.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Johnson & Johnson. But somehow we have. So we were in say. One step ahead, but somehow we were not able to translate that into a good deal to get the medication, to get the vaccines
But
And
you
even if we get
started.
the vaccines, we were slow
Okay.
in actually injecting it. So we are, I think, the worst example in the world on how to provide vaccine to people.
But by the way, you started the injections already, and which kind of vaccine are you using? Johnson and Johnson only.
If I'm not mistaken, we are using indeed the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and did you get the vaccine, Benjamin?
Me? No, 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 no.
Oh, okay.
It starts with the people in the risk category. For example, the people with obesitas. So that's actually, if you think about the closed loop, it's the meta level where you say, okay, which people should we first vaccine? Well, the people in the risk category. So that would be the people with obesitas elder than 40 years. No.
Listen, I talked to other people in Switzerland, and also in Spain, and they told me that they started to inject the vaccine. For instance, in Switzerland, they used Pfizer, and in Spain they use AstraZeneca. But in Switzerland, they say they don't allow the AstraZeneca vaccine in Switzerland, and in the Netherlands, you say that they are using Johnson and Johnson. Are there some preferences or prohibitions to use some vaccine respect others? Or how's dealing with this? A lot of categories of vaccines.
To be honest, I have no idea.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the honest answer. I don't know.
Don't worry. It's just curiosity. So I want to know more about this. Please go on.
I think this is the most important slide of my presentation. So if this message comes across, then the most important part has been explained. Some other areas which I think I don't need to explain too much about. So miniaturization, you have to make things more and more compact. And of course, going one step smaller is easy. Going a step further is a little bit more difficult. And at some point, you have to stretch yourself and go to say revolutionary technologies, and for that we typically partner up with companies which provide very specific technology, like in the area of nanobots or stretchable electronics and things like that.
So you are talking about PC devices in the contact lens. Yes, you can have internet in your eyes, basically.
For example, yeah. At the moment, we are working a lot in like in patches, health patches, and things like that. Yeah. So another thing that we see is growing is the number of sensors. So there are a lot of reasons to do that. One is to counter out anomalies. So, for example, if you have measurement on the movements of the patient in order to detect if somebody's falling. Well, if you have elder people, they tend to drop into the chair quite
terrible.
abruptly.
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
And
I know.
And how do you differentiate that movement from actually somebody falling? Well, you have other things like, for example, the heart rate or the blood pressure, which if somebody's actually falling would change in a certain pattern. So then you can actually use other sensors to compensate for indecisiveness of one sensor. Another purpose of sensor fusion, of course, is by combining data sets, you actually know more. If you have one sensor like this, another sensor like that, if you combine them, you have a third piece of knowledge. So that is in the area of sensor fusion. And we're doing a lot with that. And actually, it starts with tweaking out most of the sensor to begin with. So a lot starts with us to select the right sensors and then finding ways together with the supplier to get more out of that sensor. And then if we have the maximum out of the sensor, we combine them with all the data.
Listen, but what about the use of the phone, of the smartphone or the device phones? Is that part of this sensor fusion?
Oh, but your phone has a lot
Yeah,
of data, eh? A lot
yeah.
of data. So make no
So I
mistake about
mean,
it. I think if you look at your phone from the sensor perspective, oh my, your phone knows so much. So if you can use that data as part of the set, yeah, you know a lot. Eh? For example, if you think, for example, with people with Alzheimer,
okay.
they then you know how a day of that patient typically looks like, and by already looking at how he is using the smartphone, you already
Yeah,
can know, hey, today is not his best day, or maybe, hey, apparently he's not interacting in the way that we were expecting him to interact.
I see.
So your phone is really a very powerful sensor, and for example, you have a speaker on your phone,
Yeah,
an audio speaker, a microphone. Sorry, microphone on your phone, and that microphone actually is of quite a high quality. So you can hear patterns by your microphone, which you can relate to medical indicators. For example, if you would breathe, a a uh, a microphone would be able to already detect certain breathing patterns which are unnormal.
I see. I see.
Or, for example, the cameras in your phone, they are so many of them nowadays and so high quality.
Yeah,
If you, for example, have a skin rash and you say, hey, the skin rash seems to be a problem, you already have phones which you can aim at that skin rash and then
yeah.
do the analysis on that skin rash and say, hey, this is just a normal skin rash, or hey, maybe this is good to go to the doctor.
I see. Wonderful then. So the phone is your doctor.
That's one of the sensors involved in also in medical field more and more. Of course, you do have one big thing, and that is a lot of these sensors are not qualified for medical purposes.
I see.
So that is always the problem with, for example, using your phone as one of those sensors, that you will have always difficulties to make medical claims if you combine it. But of course, as a cross check mechanism, that's always possible. Yeah. Well, if you put more sensors into it and you have all the connectivity, of course, your batteries drain very rapidly. So we are very focused on how can you get the battery consumption up to par, and that starts, of course, with clever battery selections, but then also the whole battery management control and also the processing of data gets important in that process as well.
Yeah, that is a very big issue in the device, in the portable devices, to make longer and longer battery life. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
as I mentioned, Bluetooth, they are developing a new standard. I remember call it very ultra low consumption of energy, which is aimed to this kind of applications to make a battery for one or more years working.
yeah. True, true. Yeah. So we have actually also specific battery technology on board as DEMCON, to also get more out of the batteries than possible. And we are also actually investigating the harvesting part as well, energy
Le-
harvesting.
le- Listen, Benjamin, sorry, DEMCON is not a member of this Bluetooth special interest group, which is developing the standard for ultra low power consumption. You don't know?
To my understanding, no, no.
No, okay.
Well, I think this was one of the topics you already addressed earlier, huh? So the clinical validation to make sure that the device meets its requirements, because you want to have a device which is safe to the patient and provides the right diagnosis and the right treatments. And for that, we have a wide range of institutes where we work with to do the clinical validation.
I see. Quite important. Quite important. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think this is
And
it's
the doctor must agree. The doctor must agree. Otherwise, it's
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's the very first thing we always start with. We always go to the doctor and ask what is important to you. So biocompatible engineering, I think it makes sense. You have to make sure that the materials used are not damaging the patient, but also that the patient fluids do not harm the devices. So it goes in two directions and that. I already mentioned earlier the face mask machine. So this is our ability to go up to volume production. And what you see here is the face mask machine, which is able to go to a few million pieces per month.
okay. So
AI machine learning, yeah, I think that's in healthcare always a tensional topic because
oh, yeah, that is a very interesting topic, Benjamin. So, do you believe in the future the doctor will be replaced by this artificial intelligence machine? So we don't need to study the medicine anymore because we have already the machines. What do you think?
no, for sure AI will more and more play an important role. But time and again, every time when you see technological innovations stepping in, technology revolution stepping in, it doesn't replace people. In opposite, it requires more people to get that done. You do see a change in roles, and if you
Yeah.
look into AI machine learning, for sure it will mean that a lot of, say, more the tedious kind of work, the repetitive kinds of activities, they typically will disappear. So what remains for the human is more the creative aspect, the understanding of animalities. Is this really the same situation as the other one? And take that decisive action where it is needed. So for sure, AI machine learning will support you in that decision making by giving you understanding on certain patterns. But I don't believe that it will mean that doctors will be replaced. No, they will
So
get
you
different roles.
so you still believe people must go to the university to study medicine to get a doctor title still will be required.
Yes, yes, but they do have to be aware that the role that they will get will be different than the people who will explain them what the role will be.
I see.
That is a bit confusing for also, of course, the people who have to train them, educate them. But yeah, that's definitely. I'm sure that they will stay, but they will have different purposes. Yeah, different way of working. I think this one already addressed the full stack software. Important is the connectivity by design, so that you already by design make sure that the data is possible to make the decisions upon. And of course, if you go from a tabletop in hospital to the home situation by an office user, it means that you have to explain more carefully how the product is being used. And for that, for example, at DEMCON, we have Nimbus 3D, where we are able to do the user
Yeah,
instructions.
it may scare you. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about building confidence. So by if you look into these videos you see here, they basically guide you through the process. They also give you a little bit of an insight into the device on what actually happens inside to increase the confidence in the product.
I see.
So, and then a few references which I think are interesting. One is smart care. You already mentioned in the beginning. The elderly people. Well, this is a device. Smart care. Actually, we have shares of this company as well. And this allows patients to stay at home for longer,
I see.
24/7 monitoring, with alarm functions if something goes wrong with the patient or seems to go wrong with the patient. This is a complete other device for hearing, an in-ear hearing device, very compact, with very high quality audio.
What about the cost of these devices, Benjamin? The cost at the end of the user, at the end of user.
Yeah, that's always a difficult one because that really depends on the scale. So
Okay.
it matters if you make one single piece, then you will pay the jackpot.
Yeah.
If you make a few hundred, if you make a few thousand, a few million. So what you typically see is that you have these tipping points in your production methods. Well, if you are, say, below a few hundred, you typically have to go for rapid prototyping production methods like 3D printing and things like that. If you go above the few hundred, you can step into molding. Actually, you also have some molding techniques below the 100. And then if you go beyond that, you go to more advanced molds, which are like 100,000 pieces euros for one single part. So if you take this device, you have a part here, you have a part here, you have various parts, and one single mold would typically cost them like 100,000 euros, which is a lot of money. But hey, if you make a few millions out of them, yeah, all of a sudden it per piece it's like maybe €1 or not even.
Less than €1, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. This one I will skip for now. This one I explained already.
Yeah.
But this one I think is also nice to address quickly. So we have specific respiratory expertise, and we use that expertise actually to make a game controller. So that's another trend you see in healthcare, where there's what we call gamification. So to increase procedure adherence, particularly with young children who have to practice certain breathing patterns,
Yeah.
breathing exercises. So we developed a game controller, which then is used by the children to advance in levels in games.
So
And
you
of course,
use an game of a kid game to make the children to practice the breathing.
yes.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. And that's really nice because it shows, of course, the whole gamification part, but also how we translate the breathing expertise, where we normally say support the breathing. We now do the opposite, and that the patient actually is pushing the breath through the device, where we monitor as to how is the patient actually breathing right now.
Okay, nice.
Well, this is showing the volume production of medical gases. Not so exciting, I think. The face mask, which I think is explained earlier.
But then I see that you don't only work with electronics and software mechatronics, but also with some plastic or material, not electronic material.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. This product is a.
Why the name Benjamin? The name DEMCON, it means something. So democratic convention or something like that.
Demonstration and consensus.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. I think that this is on this is a nice movie. I think it's interesting to afterwards check the Nimbus 3D movie. Actually, Nimbus 3D is our own company, so we are
Yeah.
able to visualize, make these kinds of visualizations ourselves. And this is our own device to do continuous blood pressure monitoring, particularly used for regenerative medicine for the medication purposes. So you monitor, and then by that you know more how a certain medication impacts the patient. Yeah, this is another device, but I'll also keep this one. One last part, which I think is interesting to show because it shows how domain areas are blending more and more.
Yeah.
So this is our own product, Johan Sports, providing a sports tracker. And what you see is that sports more and more becomes mingled with healthcare. And you see here that in this case, for example, they focus on, I'm thinking on the English word here, blessures. If you have a certain overstretching of muscles, for example. So well, with this device, you can avoid overstretching muscles and things like that.
I suppose you have some sponsors, so you sponsor some athletes, some soccer players with this, or not? Yeah.
I don't.
Maybe I don't know. Messi, Ronaldo is using this.
Yeah, well, we aim actually for the more for the more amateur, the second rank people.
I see. Okay.
For two reasons. One is because they are typically the ones who are more likely to cause damage to the body. They are less trained, so they are more eager to make mistakes, more likely to make mistakes. And secondly, of course, the number of people involved is a lot more.
I see. Okay. Quantity.
Quantity, yes. So those are some examples I wanted to show you, giving you some understanding on the things that happening, which is a lot. And a lot is moving from hospital to the home situation, more to your own private situation where you are in control of your own health, which I think is very important to see happening. And DEMCON is very eager to support that transition.
Yeah, if listen, Benjamin, if people wants to know more about this, they can contact you directly. You put there in the last slide the direction, the email address, and if they want more information, they can also contact me, and then I've passed them to you any questions they may have. Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
I am very glad for this opportunity you gave us, and I want to thank you for all this time, all this information, very important information, in particular the information about the closed loop and the artificial intelligence, because as technology developers also, we are keen to work in the development of software and artificial intelligence for our research, and we see that it's also a subject which is becoming more and more important in the lives of people. More and more decisions are being, let's say, taken by these devices, more intelligent devices. So that seems to be a trend, to have more intelligent devices to take some tedious decision or some repetitive decision to gain more free time for others. I think we can end the broadcast now because it was more than half an hour. I told you only 30 minutes. We went through it, and I think we are going to end the broadcast, and then we keep talking a little bit more, you and me, in private, okay?
Yeah, so, cool.
I want to thank all people watching this video, and if you have more questions or want to know more about this wonderful house innovation presented by Benjamin, just contact us or directly Benjamin. We can provide more information respect that, okay? So we end the broadcast now.